Thank you very much, Zoom Siri. It's nice to have you back.
Yeah, hi Zoom Siri.
She never talks to me anymore. She never says anything nice. But enough of that. Welcome back, everyone out there in podcast land. We are here again with another episode of Different Strings, a guitar. Wow, I really mangled that, didn't I?
You did.
A guitar adjacent podcast. I, of course, as always, am your host, along with my good friend Andy, who is also your host. Say hello, Andy.
Oh my God. Hi, everyone. I'm back. Wait, did you even know I was gone? Probably not. There's like so much context. You've missed so much, everyone.
Yeah, and there's an episode that'll probably come out later that'll refer to the time that you were gone, and it won't make any sense anymore because now you're back.
Oh my
But
God.
anyways, this week, I'm very excited about this. I am genuinely excited about this. We are going to be taking on even more questions from the gear page.
They keep coming, Wes.
Is one of my favorite things to do, second only to taking questions from Reddit. And I'll be honest with you, gear page questions was my favorite until we started taking questions from Reddit, because damn.
That next level. It was next level.
It was. But before we do any of that, Andy, please tell everyone where they can find us on the old internet.
You can still email us. In fact, we need you to email us questions and topic ideas and suggestions and hate mail at differentstringspodcast@gmail.com. So you can still do that. Also, please subscribe to Different Strings Podcast wherever you listen, because we are still doing that. That's going to be everywhere: Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, and all that stuff. And then on YouTube, if you're watching us on YouTube, then you found us, and all I ask is that you click like, subscribe, hit the bell, comment, and do all of those things.
So I'm do you remember Dennis Miller? Yeah, he was one of the writers on Saturday Night Live. He did the Weekend Update segment.
He was one of my favorites.
Yeah, he had a talk show. He did stand up for a while, but he used to get going on something, and then he would say, "Now I don't want to go off on a rant here, but
right.
So I'm going to steal a little thing from him. I don't want to go off on a rant here, but I'm going to go off on a little bit of a rant."
Yeah, please do.
As our opening act. So, as you know, and anybody who watches the show regularly probably knows, I'm a motorcycle person, to the point where I do not consider my utilization of motorcycles to be in any way a hobby. It is part of who I am. It is my lifestyle. I am a motorcycle person. As such, I participate in motorcycle groups on social media, and I what came across an interesting situation where a dude was all up in arms about something. So we had a new person join our group. It was a woman. I don't know how old she is, and she posted a picture of her motorcycle. And within about 30 minutes, about 10 guys had posted comments about wanting to see a picture of her rather than being satisfied with seeing a picture of her motorcycle. And other people kind of started stepping up and defending her, saying, this isn't what we come here for. We come here to talk about motorcycles, not see pictures of scantily clad, large-chested women draped on motorcycles. There's plenty of places on the internet you can see those kinds of pictures. To which the trolls started posting those exact pictures and basically drove a bunch of people, including this woman who had just joined the group, out of the group.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So, but I mean, let's be honest here, you and me, Andy. This is not unusual behavior from a certain segment of the male population. I think we can both agree on that.
We can. And I like how you said a certain segment, because like every segment, it's it's not always everyone, right?
That's right.
There's
That's
bad
right.
actors, there's bad actors in every segment of society, all of them.
Yeah. So, and realizing that this is not a motorcycle podcast, because frankly, if I want to talk about things on a motorcycle podcast, I have lots of avenues to do that.
And do.
Um, yeah, that's just a little plug for my motorcycle podcast, which, if anybody's interested, is called Chasing the Horizon, and it's easy to find.
Excuse
Um,
me. It's been over a year since we started doing this, and you have yet. That was the first, I think that is a first. That is the first time you've ever plugged your other podcast.
it is. It is.
That
It
took
is.
you over a year. We started this last summer. That is
Well,
crazy.
I'm trying not to cross the streams. You know what I mean? Um,
I mean, that's impressive.
yeah. So fast forward a couple of weeks, and of course, being a guitar player, I'm in guitar groups on the
Mhm,
Facebook too.
mhm,
And there's a guy who recently got I think it was a Jazz Master, but I don't remember. What's
mhm.
important is it was an offset guitar. I believe it was a Jazz Master. And he posted a question, a multi-part question. It had to be 600 or 700 words. And he kept referring to his guitar as a Jap this and a Jap that. Yeah, so all I could think of was that thread in the guitar or in the motorcycle group,
Mhm.
and how anybody who's Japanese or even Asian would, if not be offended, at least be uncomfortable, put off, as it were. And I I didn't really want to answer the guy's question, but he ended with, "What are your thoughts about this?" And so what I posted was, my first thought is maybe you could just go ahead and spell out the word Japanese, right? It's
Yeah.
not hard to avoid these kinds of blindingly obvious pejorative terms when we're talking about guitar and bass gear. There's no reason you can't spell out the whole word Japanese. There's nothing wrong with that. But if that's too many typings for your little fingers, you can call it, especially if it's a Fender, and this group, offset guitars, are largely the domain of Fender.
Mhm.
What are the two terms? What are the two abbreviations we use to
Oh,
talk about Japanese made guitars?
oh, MIJ,
And
CIJ.
right, made in Japan and crafted in Japan, because that's the little sticker on the back of the heel of the neck that has the serial number, et
Mhm.
cetera, et cetera. And everybody, and I do mean everybody knows what these terms mean. Similarly, many of us use the abbreviation MIM to refer to guitars. Again, mostly Fenders, but there's no reason we can't use it across the industry.
Nope.
So if I say to you, I got an MIM guitar, where was it made?
Nope. Mexico.
Exactly. So, and when it comes to amps, we've talked about this before, and this is specifically directed at people who talk about vintage Fender amps, which seem to be everywhere these days for whatever reason, either
Mm.
the original ones, copies of them, or kits based on them. We can easily, so the amps that were made from 1959 to 1963, we can call those brown panel amps, because the control panel with the words and the numbers on it is brown. We can call the ones made from 63 to 67 black panel amps, because that same control panel is black with white letters on it. These terms, accurate, descriptive, no amp aficionado will have any difficulty understanding exactly what you mean, and it avoids us from using the terms brown face and black face, which are patently offensive to a large portion of the population of this country, especially, if not other places around the world.
Mhm.
And we also use the term silver face to talk about amps made from 67 to 81, but we can call those silver panels too. They're little mirrored silver panels with black letters.
Mhm.
So, because even though silver face isn't an offensive term, if you're not using the face term for two of them, why use it for the third one?
Mhm.
Right? It just, it's not hard to drop a little kindness in the world with the words that you choose to use. And these are choices. Musicians, contrary to popular belief, musicians have feelings too, right?
Yeah, we do.
And I don't mean you, Andy, I mean you, whoever is listening to this,
Hmm.
plus also you, Andy, can make people feel comfortable and welcome and included by not using terms that are offensive. And if you don't realize a term is offensive, that does not give you a pass. It just means that using an offensive term is so ingrained into your personality that you might not care.
Or realize, and maybe if you get educated like you just did, maybe instead of being offended, you can say, you know what? I can change my behavior. It's a little thing and it makes a big difference.
It's not hard.
Mm-mm.
I promise it's not hard. Let's jump into the headliner. So every now and then I go through the gear page and I pick out
God help
questions
you.
that people ask, and I put them in a document and I save them so that when we decide to do an episode like this, Andy can pick whatever she wants from the list. So I've seen these questions, but I don't know ahead of time what questions I'm going to be asked
No, you don't.
that we're going to be discussing. So I'm going to do my best to think before I speak and engage in some kindness in amongst the ridicule. Because frankly, if I don't ridicule somebody in this segment, I feel like I'm letting certain people down. And you know who you are out there.
Me, quite frankly. And
Yes,
also,
quite frankly.
I mean, but like, it's funny. When we started this podcast, we're like, we're going to be inclusive and we're not going to make fun of people for having difference of opinion. No, we don't make fun of people for having a different opinion. We make fun of them for doing really crazy shit to their instruments
That's right. Or themselves.
or asking questions on the gear page when Google would have been way better place. Because once you put it on
A
the gear
way
page,
better choice.
yeah.
It's there
Um,
forever. Yeah, there's what
Also,
is it that did you ever hear the old adage about the now this I'm going to tell you this is a little sexist right up front, but that doesn't mean it's not funny. Um, about the fastest ways to get information out.
to try to prevent it from getting out.
No. Telephone, telegram, tell a woman.
Oh, womp womp.
I know, right? Well, there's no telegram anymore. We rarely speak on the phone to anybody, and I'm of the opinion that women can keep secrets just as well as everybody else. They simply sometimes choose to share your stupid shit with their friends because it's fucking hilarious. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's telephone, telegram, the messaging app, and tell the gear page.
Yeah, and so when I read these questions, just be aware, honestly, some of these I had immediate answers and I was going to put them in the document. And I'm like, no, I will wait my turn like everybody else. I will not jump the gun, so to speak. Okay.
All
Because I want
right.
to know what you think. I don't want to color your answers with my own opinion. I will answer. If I have an opinion, I will provide it when you're done. But I want raw, unfiltered. I really do want raw, unfiltered Wes here. Like just let it
You got
fly.
it.
And yeah, okay. And by the way, we are not ridiculing the people, but we might
No,
we might poke fun at a question because a question you you are teaching me
that's
that
right.
there is such a thing as a stupid question, and
There is.
there is at least one in here. Okay.
And technically, we should be drinking alcohol while we do this because that just
Yeah,
heightens the effect. But
that's
I'm on water. I'm having a rough day.
I'm sorry. Okay. Well, we'll
That's
make
all
it
right.
better. So, Wes, question number one. Number one. It is the first. Question the first. After a couple of months of my fingers feeling like they're falling asleep several times a day, I got
Ooh,
tested. Ooh, I know. And the results are moderate carpal tunnel syndrome. In my right, which for most of us is our strumming hand. You lefties out
yeah.
there? Yeah. The doctor gave me a steroid shot, and I've been sleeping with a brace on my right hand. My hand isn't falling asleep anymore, and I don't have any pain. Is there a wrap, splint, or brace I could or should wear to minimize the effects on my hand or wrist? Let me preface by saying we are not doctors, and most of the
No.
people on the gear page are not doctors either.
Although
There's a
if they play a
couple.
P if they play a PRS, the highly likely that they might be a doctor.
They're maybe a dentist, and they're not the right people to ask for this. I'm sorry.
No, yeah. So anytime a doctor says moderate something, that actually means a lot. Moderate to a doctor does not mean what moderate means to a person. Like to me, moderate heat would be medium. To a doctor, moderate carpal tunnel syndrome is a lot of carpal tunnel syndrome. It
Really?
goes from moderate, the next step is severe, right? And when you get to severe, you need surgery.
Oh,
So moderate tends to still be treatable with things like steroid shots, physical therapy, ice, that kind of thing, braces. Once you get to severe, that's bad. So the I want to thank this person for going to see a doctor to get tested and for understanding what they have. As soon as you started talking, my fingers feel like they fall asleep. I said carpal tunnel in my head,
hmm.
right? Because as not just a musician, but as a journalist and a graduate school student many years ago, and somebody who spends a lot of time writing with a keyboard, I've had problems on and off with my wrists for 30 years, probably more. Um, and the steroid shot is a good thing. What it does is it reduces inflammation,
Yeah.
and that's going to reduce the pain, and it's going to reduce the discomfort, and it's going to reduce that pressure on the nerve that makes your fingers feel like they're falling asleep. So keep doing that. Sleep with the brace on your hand, right? Be religious about that break, because we don't know what we're doing when we sleep, and we tuck our arms under and things like that.
Yeah.
So the pain is gone, the hand isn't falling asleep. The question is there a wrap, splint, or brace I could or should use to minimize the effects? So because I've had similar problems almost my entire career as a musician, for decades I use just a very basic athletic wrap on both of my wrists when I play. They're very simple. My favorite ones are just a little bit of elastic with a Velcro tab that you stick one end to the other. And what it does for me is it just keeps everything where it's supposed to be. And it also holds in body heat, which then helps the whole thing feel good, you
Hmm.
know?
Okay.
And then sometimes when I'm done playing, I will ice, especially my left wrist. I'll ice my left wrist when I get home from a gig, if it was a long gig. But you can get something like that at CVS or Walgreens or your local drugstore. And I would suggest trying that, because if it works, then you found a solution. And if it doesn't, I think you need to talk to your doctor again.
Hmm.
And it also has the secondary effect of helping keep sweat from running down your arm onto your hand.
Okay. Well, whoever this person is, we hope that you get the help that you need. And sorry to hear about the moderate carpal tunnel. That is a pain. I'm fortunate
Yeah.
that I don't
Well,
I have
and
never had that arthritis I have, but that's a very different treatment.
yeah, arthritis is in your joints,
Yep.
and carpal tunnel is literally a tunnel between the bones of your wrist
Hmm.
that the nerve bundle passes through. And worst case, you have to have surgery, and they go in and they route out that tunnel and make it bigger and rearrange some things. And then after a few weeks of recovery and some physical therapy, you're fine.
Yeah.
My mother had carpal tunnel surgery in her 40s, over 35 years ago, and she's never had a problem with her carpal tunnels again since then.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, she was a computer programmer, and she typed nonstop, hours and hours and hours a day. So yeah, she developed that, and she got one hand done, and then she got the other hand done, and she was fine after that.
Cool. Question number two, my friend. Now, I have some thoughts about this one. I have many thoughts about
Ooh,
this one. And unlike the last one, I have experience with this one. So this might be a long one. Yikes, we might have to do an episode on this one.
we might.
Two members of my band have become romantically entangled,
Oh no.
and their relationship is negatively affecting the band. They are distracted, not learning new material, and he has become very defensive regarding any criticism of her. Both are married to other people outside the band.
Wow.
They have not disclosed their relationship to the rest of the band, but they aren't fooling anybody.
They never do.
And it's obvious they are together. What should I do?
Huh. Okay, let me think about this for a second, because my off the cuff answer is quit.
It's over. It's
Right?
over, Johnny. Yeah, it's
But let's take this, let's pretend they're trying to keep the band together for the sake of having something to talk about on the show. Um, I think the important things are that these two people are cheating on their spouses, which I don't judge. If you want to step out on your spouse, maybe you've agreed that that's okay in your relationship, maybe you haven't. That they're trying to hide the relationship from the other people in the band tells me that it's probably not that situation where, they're in legitimate open relationships. So they are probably cheating on their spouses, and it's starting to negatively affect the band, right? They're distracted, they're not learning new material. He gets very defensive whenever anybody tries to criticize her.
Mhm.
And that really is the core of the problem for the band. So that they're cheating on their spouses, not a problem for the band, because Nunya,
Mhm.
right? What you do with your sexual organs is your business. But when it starts to negatively affect the band, and I'm in the band, that makes it my business. And that means I have a say, and I'm going to tell you, you got to step it up. You got to focus. You got to be in the band. And
Mhm.
if that means she's singing flat or she's playing bad notes, I get to say something about it. Now, it's on me not to be shitty about it, and not to say things like, well, if you weren't running around with this dumbass bass player, maybe you'd be able to pick up a new song here and there. That's just rude.
Oh yeah, there's a polite way. I mean, my
Yeah.
first thought when I read this, honestly, was I honed in on they have not disclosed their relationship, but they aren't fooling anyone. And I honed in on that for a couple reasons. The first is, well, if they haven't disclosed it, then you're making assumptions.
True. Absolutely true.
Yeah, even if it is patently obvious, you still don't know. And if you don't know, you can't make assumptions. You shouldn't make assumptions, and you shouldn't make accusations. What you do know, the facts you do have are, and also, by the way, saying you're distracted is vague. Saying, you seem distracted, and I say that because you've been late every practice for the last 6 months, or you
Yeah.
seem distracted because you're struggling to learn new material, or you seem distracted because, you're during practices, you're, I don't know, playing footsie. Like, I don't know. Saying you're distracted is vague, but what do you know? You do know the negative effects it's having on and the behaviors you're seeing. Those are real. So as you pointed, you can only address what you know, and what you know are the negative things that are happening and how it's affecting the band. And so the right way to address this would be to say, hey, so and so, hey, look, I've noticed for the last few weeks, months, whatever, you seem very distracted, and it just wanted to, it's affecting the band and everyone's worried, and or whatever, it's preventing us from learning new material. And is there something going on? Is there something we can do? Do you need some time off? Or like, how can we help? Like, if you approach it like that, maybe he or she needs to just hear this,
Yeah.
and they'll be like, oh, I didn't realize it was this obvious. Maybe they'll be honest with you and tell you right there on the spot. Or maybe they won't, but they still need to hear it. Or maybe none of that will happen. But the bottom line is you've addressed the behavior. And then your next question is, if it doesn't change, do you do it again? At what point do you say this isn't working anymore, and take whatever actions you need to take, whether it's I don't know. But I like your approach. I think it makes sense, but I honed in on the address the facts, not the assumptions. You just don't know,
Yeah, that's
you know.
that's really great advice. I mean, and when you were reading this, the first thing that struck me is this band is already over.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but I told you I've had experience in this. I've
Yeah.
been on multiple fronts. I've been the person that was entangled, and I've also been the person who was watching others be entangled. Neither one was very good. Neither one ended well.
Yeah.
It don't Most bands don't end well. Let's be honest, every band I've ever been in, I'm not in anymore. Right?
Right.
And I've been
And
in a
most
lot
of
of
the time
bands.
the reason is unpleasant.
Yeah. So I've been on both sides of this, and it's never great. And hey, look, these things happen. Feelings are feelings. Sometimes you just can't, you know, I get it. Like, I totally understand. Sometimes we have no self-control. Sometimes we can't control our feelings.
Yeah.
If true, a lot of people and their lives are about to get destroyed, though, because being married and then being hooking up in the band, one of two things is going to happen. Either two marriages are going to end badly, or this relationship is going to end very badly, right?
And
Just
destroy the band. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no way this ends well. So yeah, I'm
No.
with you.
No. But good luck. That's a tough place to be in. It really is. I've never been in this exact situation, mostly because I've only ever been in a band with one woman, and she's a lesbian. She was absolutely not interested in me. So, but I played in a band where the singer was sleeping with the other guitar player's sister, who occasionally sang backup with us and, was just kind of around.
Wait, you said
Um,
sleeping with. They weren't like, were they
I mean, they
like,
were they were like dating. They were together. And I quit the band just because I had too much going on, and I had a weird vibe, and I wasn't interested in being in that band anymore. So I left the band. And just a few weeks later, maybe a couple of months, it completely imploded when the singer and the guitar player's girlfriend broke up. It
mm.
destroyed the band.
So even an ancillary relationship, one that wasn't in the band, but it was adjacent to the band, it destroyed the
Yeah.
band. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
And it worked out great for me because I got a brand new fresh bass player that I really needed, and he was awesome.
Nice. And really all that matters is how it affected you.
That's absolutely correct.
That's how I look at life. Question number 3, my friend.
Okay.
Here's another one I think we're going to wind up doing literally an entire episode on. God, I hate to say this. What
I'm ready.
musician, what musician do you think got a free ride just by being in the band?
That's Andy. There are so many easy ways to answer this question that would absolutely light up the switchboard.
I know. I got one on the tip of my tongue, and I'm not going to use it. Do
But let me say this.
you want to do the reverse?
That's what I think we should do for an episode.
I know, and it's a brilliant idea. I love it. Bands
Yeah.
where everyone was just equal partners.
Yeah, and nobody even has the appearance of coasting. So here's the thing about being in a band, right? If you're at our level, like Andy and I, where I would say amateur bands, right? Maybe semi-professional. I think your
How
band would be
dare
semi-professional.
you call me a filthy casual? No, you're absolutely right. We are amateurs slash semi-professional because we've both been paid for our work.
Yes, exactly. Um, in that situation,
Amateur, how dare you?
anybody who appears to be getting a free ride typically gets shuffled out of the band pretty quickly.
I know, right? It's like everyone's got to be on their game.
Yeah, especially if like you're in like a party band. I'm going to say cover band. I do not mean it in a pejorative fashion like I normally do.
You're in a
But
cover band. You.
yeah,
No,
well,
I am. I'm in
so
a
every
90s tribute band.
yeah, and if you're not carrying your end of the boat, man, they are going to find somebody else.
There's guitar
And
players are
that's
a dime
just
a dozen. Now, guitar players that are as talented and beautiful and sexy as me,
true.
story, but guitar players are a dime a dozen. There's another one
Yes.
already in the band. They've done a show without me. They don't need me.
So let's talk about this in the context of a band that's made it, quote unquote. I'm doing air quotes for anybody who's not watching this
Well,
on
and
YouTube.
also
A band that's made it.
let's be clear here. We're about to voice what's called an opinion.
An opinion.
But that means two things. Number one, you can't tell me and I can't tell you it's wrong because it's an opinion. However,
Radio.
it does mean we don't have to agree with each other and you don't have
That's
to
right.
agree with us.
Yes, we do not have to agree with each other, and you are allowed to be wrong.
And, and also, by the way, we don't really know the backstory. Like, I personally think that whoever is in the band with Bono and The Edge got a free ride. But you may think, wait a minute, Adam Clayton is the greatest bass player since sliced bread, and he wrote 75% of that material. I don't know that. All I know is I know Bono and The Edge because their names are stupid and because they're the ones that get all the attention. And what, does not everyone think that? Oh, their name's stupid. And anyone who calls themselves by the way, my son said it best. If you call yourself The Edge, that's cringe as fuck. Like it is 2024. Call yourself whatever you want, but The Edge, that's some like try hard emo shit. Okay, anyway. So
Anyways, yeah, I mean,
I think
so
anyone
it,
who isn't Bono or The Edge got a free ride. And if you don't agree with me, you don't have to. But I don't, it's because I don't know the facts. I'm just telling you what
yeah,
I
that's
know.
that's fine, but you know, nobody gets to that level on a free ride because either one thing that a lot of people don't know is that when a band gets signed to a record label,
Mhm.
a record contract, it's not usually the whole band that gets signed. It's one person, the primary songwriter, who gets signed, and they bring the other people along as the band, which means they
Ah,
are effectively hired side people.
dude, I didn't know that.
Effectively. Oh yeah, that's lots of controversy. That's why bands break up, you know.
Sure.
Um so contracts have to be very specifically worded to avoid those kinds of situations, and you take away one of those people and it doesn't sound like the band. Yeah, you can. So bass players a lot of times get accused of this, getting a free ride.
Well, whoever the bass player was in Judas Priest got a fucking free ride for 50 years.
Well, except that if you replace him with somebody else, it doesn't sound like the Judas Priest you've been listening to for 50 years.
Sure, it does.
It sounds like a different band.
No, it doesn't. He hasn't contributed nearly enough to be called that singular. You could replace him with a machine. You could replace him with a MIDI bass part. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Some bass players are replaceable.
But you still need a bass player, right? So that person's not getting a free ride. They're still there doing their job.
Do you even know the bass player's name for Judas Priest?
I don't know anybody's name in Judas Priest except for Rob Halford because I don't like Judas Priest.
Oh, that's a bad example then.
And
So you're not a fan
Ripper
of
Owens.
Tim Ripper Owens?
Yeah, he was in that band, wasn't he?
Hey, again, with nicknames Ripper.
Ripper.
I know
That's a cool
KK.
nickname though.
I know KK Downing and
Oh yeah,
Glenn
KK
Tipton.
Downing, Glenn
Glenn
Tipton.
Tipton. Then,
Yeah.
oh,
What's the drummer's name?
no, no. You could replace him
Yeah.
with, well, I know the new drummer's name is Scott from Racer X. He's really good.
Sweet.
Um, but I don't know who the first drummer was, and no one else does. If you can be easily replaced and you basically don't change the sound of the band, I think
Then
you
you're
got to,
getting a free ride.
yeah. Or if you get replaced and the band goes like to the next level, you got a free ride. Like
Yeah.
I because when Judas Priest replaced their first drummer with whoever they got after that, he took the band to a new level. It was not the same band um from that record when they got, I'm sorry, I can't remember the guy's last name. Wes, can you look this up while I'm on my rant?
Who
Judas
are we
Priest,
looking up?
the drummer
Oh,
from
Judas
Judas
Priest.
Priest, yeah. And so because it's on the tip of my old lady tongue and I can't remember. Um, if you were replaced and you either didn't the band didn't change fundamentally or got better, you definitely got a free ride. If you're not writing any of the material, you're getting a free ride.
So here's the list of
Is it Scott
Judas
Travis?
Priest drummers. There is no one named Scott Travis on the list.
Oh,
First is Alan, or sorry, first is John Ellis.
okay, you don't know that.
He did not record with the band. Next is
Okay,
Alan Skip Moore, who
okay,
recorded Sad Wings of Destiny.
okay.
Then Chris Congo Campbell, who did not record with the band.
All right, what's with these nicknames?
Then John Hinch, who recorded Rockarola.
Oh, okay.
Simon Phillips, who recorded Sin
Yeah,
After Sin.
yeah. Now Simon Phillips is a monster.
Yeah. And then Les Binks, who recorded Stained Class, Killing Machine, and Unleashed in the East.
Okay.
Dave Holland
That's who I
may
know.
be the person you're thinking of. He recorded everything from British Steel in 1980 to Ram It Down in 1988.
Yeah, but he's not the drummer I'm talking about. I'm talking about Racer X's drummer. I think replaced Dave Holland.
Racer X is the Racer X drummer is Scott Travis. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
And he's been recording with them since Painkiller in 1990.
that's what I'm talking about. So you said no Scott Travis. You liar.
In the former, you're right.
Oh,
I lied.
all right. So anyway, in my opinion, everyone that came before Scott Travis was replaceable, highly replaceable. You know how I know? They were all replaced big
Well,
time.
in some of their defenses, they're dead. So, you know,
Oh,
being a drummer in Judas Priest
it's like
can be
being
dangerous.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like being the bass player
Yeah,
in Spinal Tap.
not quite as bad as being the drummer in Spinal Tap. Yeah, but you know, more of their ex drummers are dead than ex anything else.
Okay. Well, so we've spent a lot of time on this question and you still have yet to give me an answer. Who do you think got a free ride?
I don't in the context of a band that is signed, recording albums, on the charts, touring the world. I
Hmm.
don't think anybody gets a free ride. I think the
Oh,
load is less on some people than others,
okay.
right? And many bands have a dynamic in which one or two of the band members emerge as leaders,
Hmm.
right? I would say that maybe some people got a really lucky break, like Nate Mendel. Do you know who that is?
Bass player from the Foo Fighters.
Right. So what would he be doing? What would he be doing today if he wasn't in Foo Fighters?
Actually, the person that posed this question, their answer was Pat Smear, guitar
Pat,
player from the
yeah,
Foo Fighters.
but see, Pat Smear has bona fides that extend back to before Nirvana.
Does
Like
he?
Pat Smear, most people don't know this, but Pat Smear is a punk rock pioneer.
Mm-hmm.
And he may be coasting or slumming, whatever, with Foo Fighters, but he's one of those guys that made his bones when most of us were not even aware that punk music was a thing.
Mm. So
I,
he may be
I,
coasting
I
now,
don't
but
know.
you're saying you get a free pass.
Okay, here. I got one guy who got a free ride. The drummer that was in Foo Fighters before Taylor Hawkins.
That was Dave Grohl.
No.
It wasn't?
The guy who was playing drums. Dave Grohl recorded the drums, but when they went out and played, that guy got a free ride
Who was that?
because I don't remember his name, because Dave Grohl did all the recording and drove the guy out of the band.
Did that?
Yeah, they had a guy that toured with them for a couple of years at least.
Okay.
And he was in the band when they recorded one of their albums, but Dave Grohl redid all his drum tracks.
Right.
Right. And so maybe Dave Grohl is getting a free ride just because he was in Nirvana.
Listen, we don't make any Dave Grohl jokes anymore after what just got released by Dave Grohl.
Well, yeah, he was having an affair and got some lady pregnant,
Yeah.
that wasn't his wife,
Dave
which
Grohl,
is, not cool, but
no, that Dave Grohl's new side project is not the one we wanted.
wow.
Too soon. All right.
But I think a lot of people kind of gave him a pass because he was in Nirvana. Doesn't mean Foo Fighters is not an awesome band.
That first album, Dave Grohl proved himself to be.
I know, man. That first Foo Fighters album is so good,
and they just kept getting better,
Yeah.
Until he became America's Dad, and then the music just, I don't know. Now they're like, I don't know. Anyway.
And here's a question for a future episode, Andy.
Yeah.
Did the quality of Foo Fighters music decline as Dave added people to the band? And why?
And if it did, why?
All right, but I think there we go. I don't honestly really think anybody got a free ride, but I do think some people maybe did not carry as much water as other people in the band.
Yeah, and I was just like kidding when I talked about U2, because I got to be honest with you, that I don't know his name, so I'm sorry, but
Larry Mullen Jr.
Larry Mullen Jr. Yeah, he definitely did have a unique style that I would say signified all of the early U2.
Oh,
Maybe
I will tell you, Andy, the rhythm section is the only thing I like about U2.
Here I am dogging him. So no, I actually think when I was joking about U2 and Aerosmith and also everyone in Guns N' Roses that isn't Izzy Stradlin being alone. That's just a joke. It's true, because you're right. By the time you get to a point where the band's being signed, you've weeded out all of the shit.
Yeah.
At least you tried to. And then, what usually happens after a band gets famous is more shit happens. People are like, okay, well, I guess I can do way more drugs now, and I guess I can be more of an asshole
people
now.
They either take it or they don't.
And then they get weeded out.
Steven Adler weeded himself right out of Guns N' Roses.
Yep, but it had a sweet gig. All right. Wow, there's a lot of time on that question. Question 4. I know, I'm so sorry. And most of it was my fault.
That's okay.
Because I was dogging Aerosmith for no reason other than to piss off 3 people. I would like, and I'm sorry to those 3 people, I would like to purchase a set of Seth Lover pickups. Good for you. They rock.
Good for you. Those are good pickups.
Yeah. I really want the 2 conductor versions. But the shop has only the 4 conductor in stock. Womp, womp. Can you wire a 4 conductor pickup to behave as a 2 conductor pickup? Because I have no need for coil tapping or out of phase sounds yet. What you didn't say, my friend, and I'm adding is yet. You don't have a need for it yet because you didn't hear them coil tapped or out of phase. Because once you do, there's no going back. All right, anyway.
Have you finished the question yet?
Yeah, like 20 minutes ago. Can you wire a four conductor pickup to behave as a two conductor?
So
Wes.
the short answer is every humbucker is a four conductor pickup.
That's actually that's not the answer I thought you were going to give, but that is the actual answer.
Right.
That's
So
true.
when you buy a pickup that looks like it only has two conductors, two wires, a hot and a ground, the manufacturer has already done the work for you.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
So, yes, if all the shop has is a four conductor pickup, buy it. You'll need to look up usually on the manufacturer's website,
Hmm.
which wire colors do which thing.
Right.
And there's two of the wires you're going to have to solder together. You strip just a little bit off the end, you solder them together, you fold it over, you tape it closed,
And that's
and
it.
that will effectively turn your four conductor pickup into a two conductor
Yeah.
pickup. Now, most of those also actually have a fifth wire, which is a bare ground. So you'll need to put that to ground as well as whatever the ground is.
Yep.
And then boom, blammo.
Yeah.
I
The harder
personally,
thing is converting a two conductor pickup to a four conductor.
yeah, don't do that. Take those pickups out of your guitar, buy new pickups,
Yeah.
sell the original ones, or keep them to sell with the guitar. Um, I personally prefer four conductor pickups because I don't like having to solder that braided ground shield to the
Ah,
back of a pot. It is a giant pain in the ass
it
because that
really
entire
is.
shield acts as a heat sink. And I always end up having to run my soldering iron at 900 friggin' degrees. And I'm always worried about damaging something. And then I burn myself.
Yeah,
So
it's an art
I
form.
prefer to just have a four conductor pickup, be done with it.
Yeah. This next question, by the way, was I had to edit it massively because this
Well,
person,
before you move on, I want to say thanks for picking like a legit technical question. I love to get those.
oh, there's more.
Yeah, they're less fun than the social, you know, people in the band are sleeping with each other questions, but I love the tech questions.
Yeah, yeah, no, I
So
get you.
please continue. Question
Um,
number 5.
this one's a little tech. Um,
Okay.
and like I
Massively
want to
edited.
massively edited for two reasons. One, this guy or girl ranted way too long on this topic and they editorialized. So it was very clear this person, even though they asked the question, already had an opinion. I hate that. I don't mean already had an opinion, already knew the answer. In their
Right.
mind, they already knew the answer, but they were just
And and you're wrong.
already. So I edited the question a little bit. It seems Les Pauls that are over 9 pounds or 4 kilograms to you Europeans simply do not sell and are considered inferior. I'm going to stop right there. How do you know that?
Well, that would be something that we call an inherent bias. That's something that they want to believe is true, so they state that it is true.
Right? I right away when I read that, I'm like, how do you know that?
How do you
What?
know?
Right. Can you provide statistics or are you
Is
just
Gibson
saying?
sharing their sales records with you?
Right. And he's referring not only to new, but the used market, but he does talk about the new market and the historics. But okay. I keep saying he, I don't know. And I know I'm gendering, even though I said don't gender, but okay, maybe I should say they. The general consensus is that lighter weight Les Pauls resonate more. Is it?
Is it? Yeah, that's not a general consensus that I have.
I disagree. I've owned many Les Pauls. They said well over 200, which what and why? And also what?
Yeah, what a
Who?
flex.
I've owned many Les Pauls, and I find that when it comes to good tone, weight is not the only relevant factor. Rather, it's the sum of their parts that matter. Um, Welcome to the club. Do you think featherweight Les Pauls, and again, editorializing featherweight, so 8 pounds is now featherweight. 8.5 pounds. Do you think featherweight Les Pauls are the only way to go and this lighter is better mindset is justified? So I would like to propose a different question, Wes.
Okay.
It, who is this person and why do we
I will
care?
answer both questions. The question
So
they ask and the question you ask.
yeah, I think how I would have asked the question is, um, where do I get therapy? No, I mean, do you think featherweight Les Pauls are the only way to go and this lighter is better mindset is justified? Wes, what do you think about that?
Well, let me start by saying I don't like Les Pauls.
No, I don't
Okay.
like them either.
And the main reason I don't like them is because so many of them are heavy.
Mhm.
And to me, a heavy guitar is distracting. I'm constantly thinking about how much it weighs and not just playing effortlessly.
Mhm.
So also there's something about the shape that I don't like that doesn't fit well with me. But um I think and this is a fact that Gibson weight relieves many of their Les Pauls.
Mhm.
They even made a line that they used to call the Les Paul Light. I think actually they called it something else, but it was effectively a Les Paul Light. It was a thinner body, and it was basically hollowed out and then filled with some kind of insulating material so that it wasn't semi-hollow. They routed it out, but then they put something in there so it wasn't just air banging around. So many different factors go into the tone of a guitar, and it starts with your fingers and ends at your amp. So heavy, light, whatever, you put a 12-pound Les Paul in Joe Bonamassa's hands, and it's going to sound pretty much exactly the same as an 8-pound Les Paul in Joe Bonamassa's hands.
Um, so I had several thoughts when I read this, and obviously I gave them to you while I was reading the question. One of them was, I think the question's flawed to begin with because I don't think there is a lighter is better mindset that's prevalent or
I don't either. I disagree with that statement completely.
yeah, I think some people think that, and I think some people disagree with it and think the other. And
Yeah.
they want heavier Les Pauls. Maybe this person's just run into people on forums where there is a hive mindset, and that's different. That's you can't base it on
What
what you
on the
read on the forums.
Are you telling me that people on the gear page might be wrong?
I didn't
They
say
might be
that.
they might be living in an echo chamber?
I
I'm
didn't
stunned.
say that, but I'm not saying it's not true. Um,
I want to reiterate here,
Also,
we are not associated
with the gear
or
page,
supported in any way with the gear page, just
don't
so
definitely
everybody
not
knows.
supported. Hey, so the Koa guitars from the 50s that resonate like, you know, like
Gangbusters.
crazy. Yeah, they would like a word with you. And to me, it's okay. Will a hollow body resonate differently than a semi-hollow body, which will resonate
Yes.
differently from a solid body?
Yes.
Sure. But will a Les Paul that's either weight relieved or even differently made with a slightly lighter wood like a Koa or some of the new mahogany that is being farm generated these days, some people feel it's lighter. Is that going to resonate differently than a 10-pound Les Paul? Maybe. Will you know the difference when amplified and played on a stage really super loud? No. Like, what are we talking about? And there's so many other factors. In all of the factors, how well the wood was dried, how it was finished, the material that the hardware was made from and how it's assembled and the strings and the pickups and the person playing it and what they're playing through. Like there's just, I don't know. Even if you take the amplifier out of the equation and you just are telling me you're going to strum the unamplified electric guitar, resonate. How you're really going to know the difference between a 10-pound Les Paul and an 8-pound Les Paul? I don't know. I
Yeah.
question that. So I'd say this question's weird.
It is a little bit weird. It sounds like somebody was trying to start a fight, but what are you going
or
to do?
or had a fight on a different forum and came to this forum to vent about it.
But it also shows that there are myths in the guitar world that have been perpetuated into modern times that may or may not be warranted. People gave Norland era Les Pauls, which were heavier because that's just the way it was, a bad rap as sounding bad. And so there, from that experience emerged a kind of a sweet spot for Les Pauls between 8 and 10 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And so people say, well, heavier than that and they're no good, lighter than that and they're no good. Every guitar is different. And I'm going to bring Paul Reed Smith back into the discussion by reminding everybody that something he once said in response to a question that I heard in person.
Mm-hmm.
Everything affects everything.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't separate anything from the weight of a guitar and say it's the one thing that makes that guitar sound the way it does. Everything affects everything. You take a guitar, and if you cut the top off, you take a 12-pound Les Paul, if you cut the top off, hollow it out, glue the top back on, it's going to sound different.
How much different?
Yeah, and whether you like it or not
right.
is another thing. But yeah, I mean, the lighter is better mindset is not justified because the weight of a Les Paul is not the determining factor on how it sounds. It is one of numerous factors that determine how it sounds.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, good one. Question 6. All other things being equal, which I added because I do think it matters.
Ooh, this
all
sounds
other
exciting.
Things being equal, it's not. Is there a tone difference between 21 and 22 frets, or is the additional fret just more fingerboard real estate? So you take a Strat, 21 frets, same Strat, 22 frets. Is it just another fret, or is there a tone difference?
So, okay.
And the reason I say that is because there are guitars where the additional frets make a difference. And I'm thinking about Paul Reed Smith's 24 and 22 frets because it changes the position of the neck pickup.
Well, and yes, and here's why, right?
I don't know the answer when it comes to Strats, though. I really don't know that.
Yeah. I happen to have a Strat right here.
You have several Strats. Well, at least you used to.
I still do. And I don't know if you can see it right here.
Yeah.
There's 21, there's 22.
Yep.
And it may be hard to see on camera. And of course, if you're listening, you can't
really
see it at all.
It's really hard to see.
But the 22nd fret is not on the neck.
No, it's not. It hangs over the end of the actual neck.
Right. It is only on the fretboard. So from that standpoint, the 22nd fret does not have maple under it. So maybe it sounds a little bit different. But the real difference is 21 frets is vintage spec. 22 frets is modern spec for Fenders.
Mm-hmm.
And Fender achieves that by adding a little overhang. Now, my heavy metal Strat, which is over there, has a 24 fret neck.
Mm-hmm.
So they completely redesigned the entire neck.
Right. And they shrink the difference between pickups. They move the neck pickup towards the bridge to make
you
more
have
room.
To a little bit. Yeah. And especially if you do a 24 fret overhang, you have to move if you've got 3 frets hanging off the end of your Strat neck, then you've got to move that pickup or even take it out if you're not using it. But I don't think there is a tone difference between 21 and 22 frets
Nope.
because they didn't change the scale length. Fender did not change the scale length of the neck. They just
Correct.
added a fret onto the end of the fretboard. You know,
And they
they
didn't
added
change the
fretboard,
position of the pickups either.
and they didn't change anything. So my Jazzmaster is 21 frets. It sounds completely different from my Strats that are 22 frets,
But
but
not
it's a Jazzmaster.
right. That's why I said all other things being equal, because
Right?
yeah.
Now, I will say I will sometimes have a little bit of difficulty when I'm playing a 21 fret guitar because I like to hit that D and bend it up to an E.
Ew, you do that?
I do that.
Man, how the hell do you get all the way up there? With my tiny ass hands, I just can't do it.
I've got
That
the
is
monster hands.
that is
But
unexplored
no, I don't.
territory for me.
At all other things being equal, there is not a tone difference between 21 and 22 frets.
Okay. Wes, this next one is 100% for you, and I'm going to preface it with
Oh, I'm so excited.
my own question. What is a Stay-Trem / Mastery bridge? I'm assuming this is a third-party Jazzmaster bridge.
That is absolutely correct.
Okay. So can you use 10 gauge strings on a Jazzmaster if you use a third-party bridge like the Stay-Trem Mastery? I've heard that, here's the thing. I've heard that with the stock bridge, 10s are problematic. And that's editorial. And I would like to know about that too. But what about aftermarket replacements? So can you use
Okay.
10 gauge strings on, can you use 10 gauge strings on a Jazzmaster regardless of the bridge? So I'd like to know all of that.
Yes, absolutely you can.
You
The
do?
problem, yeah, absolutely. I use 10s on my Jazzmasters. I play
Mhm.
10s. So that's what I use. So here's the thing, right? 50 years ago, when they invented the Jazzmaster,
Mhm.
they designed them for effectively what we would call 12 gauge strings.
Oh, did they?
So back in the day, if you bought a vintage Jazzmaster and you put 10 gauge strings on it, you might have some problems because it is not designed to work with 10 gauge strings.
Hmm.
Nowadays, they come from the factory with 9s or 10s on them.
That's right.
So they're designed for that. And the big thing that changed is underneath the plate on a Jazzmaster tremolo, there's a spring. So they changed the spring,
Okay.
right? They use a lighter spring now, so 10s are fine. It doesn't matter if you use a Stay-Trem bridge, a Mastery bridge, a Mustang bridge, which is a very common upgrade for Jazzmasters,
Mhm.
or the standard grooved barrel bridge that comes on a lot of Jazzmasters. The gauge of your strings makes no difference to the bridge. So, having said that, if your Jazzmaster came with 10s and you want to put heavier strings on it, you need to make sure that you adjust the nut appropriately. You may even need a new nut. You may need to raise the action just slightly at the nut. You definitely need bigger nut slots. Same
Mm.
thing if you go down. If you buy a vintage Jazzmaster and you want to play 10s like I would, you're going to have to change the spring in the tremolo, and you're probably going to have to put a new nut on it or deal with high action at the
Ooh,
nut.
here's a question. It's probably, I
Hit
think
me.
I probably know the answer. If you buy, if you were to buy a custom shop Jazzmaster, and only of the two of us, only one of us has. If you if you buy a custom shop Jazzmaster, is it coming with the old type spring or the new type spring? Like, would it be set up for 12s or would it be set up for like 9s and 10s?
Well, I'll tell you, when I bought my Jazzmaster, my custom shop Jazzmaster, and I got it home, the first thing I did was take the strings off of it, clean the neck, and put 10s on it and set it up for 10s. I
And
had
it
no
was
trouble doing it.
okay. Cool. All right. I
And
this is
I believe the shop floor travelers specified 10s.
okay. So Here's another, I don't know if this is a tech question, but this is definitely a question that I have experience with because I have experience with the actual product and you have experience with the act that the person is trying to duplicate. I have questions about recording my tube amp. My amp,
Ooh,
my
okay.
amp is a 5150 Iconic 40-watt combo. Had that amp.
Okay.
Okay. I've been using the gain channel with the master volume on 1 or 2 to avoid disturbing my parents. Yikes. 1 or 2.
Smart move.
Yeah, but I can tell you 1 or 2, poor person. But I'm never happy with the tone. Yes.
Yeah, of course not.
I can't get the right balance between rhythm and lead tones, either too much gain or not enough clarity. This morning, I tried recording with the amp in 10-watt mode. Yes. Master volume at 10 and the gain reduced. It was very loud, but the tone was much better. Tight rhythm tones and easier lead play with less hum since the gain was lower. Okay. Now I want to achieve this improved tone at lower volume. Now
Okay.
remember, he's got the master volume. They have the master volume at 10. I mean,
Cranked,
that's,
yeah, in
yeah,
10-watt mode.
right. Will an attenuator or load box let me crank the master volume for better tone and lead play? And will it help with hum reduction even if the volume is lower? So I know I'm supposed to let you answer.
Well, tell me what you think first, Andy, and then
All
I'll
right.
answer.
I have several thoughts. The first is square peg meet round hole. That's the first thing I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, first of all, the Iconic has a direct out that is speaker emulated and it sounds really good. So
So
I don't
use
know if,
that.
yeah, if this person doesn't know that, I'm telling you and them, that's your answer.
Yeah.
You should not have to wear with that in there, with that feature, you shouldn't have to worry about it. But let's pretend for a moment that you absolutely are insisting on miking this amplifier. You are at home with your parents. This is not the place to be recording your tube amp.
No, no, it's really not.
It's not. This is the place to be using a direct out or plugins or a modeler or something designed for what for that purpose. If
Yeah.
you like the sound of your tube amp cranked, welcome to the party, pal, as
Yeah.
John McClane would say.
As as do we all.
Yeah. Now, will an attenuator or load box, first of all, a load box, no, but an attenuator with a load box, yes. Yes, you will be able to crank the master volume. It says for better tone and lead play. Arguably, it lets you crank the master volume. Will it sound like your amp just quieter? Usually, most of them do.
Yeah. Pretty
Some,
close.
yeah, some do it better than others.
Yeah.
Um, but remember now, you want to record this. So you have to pump volume out of your speaker into a microphone. So
Yeah.
what you're going to wind up doing is you're if you're playing this amp on 1 or 2, that is whisper quiet. If you try to record that, you're going to have to crank the gain of your microphone so loud that you're going to hear a mouse fart at 50 feet. You are, and you're going to introduce all sorts of noise besides
Yeah.
hum.
That you
So
don't want
that you don't want. So there's really not a way to do what you're trying to do. Yes, you
with the
can.
tools you have.
Right. Yes, you can, with an attenuator, bring the volume down to whisper quiet levels, but then you really should be recording with a microphone. Um, my answer is save your money. Don't buy an attenuator or a load box. Use the direct out on the amp because it sounds
Yeah.
fantastic. But if you want to record it, take it somewhere else and crank the fuck out of it. And by the way, if you're getting a lot of hum, depending on the hum, that's a problem. That
Yeah.
is, yeah, it depends. Some people say hum when they mean noise. Some people say hum when they mean hum. You could have all sorts of problems. You can have dirty power in the house. You could have bad cables. You can have bad grounding. Your guitar could be messed up. Like there could be all sorts of problems. So I'm not going to question the hum thing, but yes, you'll get less noise when your gain's lower because what are you doing when the gain is up? Your tubes, you're exciting the electrons in your tubes to extreme degrees. Any noise that was there at low level is going to get amplified 1 billion times.
Yeah, there's a reason that we call that sound distortion. I'm just saying, Andy, I'm just saying.
So I had a lot of thoughts when I read this question. Clearly, I was like fired out of a cannon on it, but mostly because it's a 5150 iconic. The whole point of that amp is it sounds great at low volumes and it has a speaker emulated direct out for this purpose. So bro,
Yeah,
use and it has a speaker defeat on the back. You
right.
literally can record it direct
Turn
and
off the
turn off the
speaker.
speaker. Yeah,
So do that.
yeah, it's crazy how cool that amp is. The reason I sold it, it weighed 1 million pounds, and there was no way I was ever going to take it to a gig. There was no way I was ever going to take it to a rehearsal. It was too heavy, but God, I loved how it sounded. It sounded amazing. Really one of the best budget tube amplifiers on the market today, but it was just unbelievably heavy. Oh, and it had a closed back cabinet. Had a 112, but it was completely closed back. Dude, there was
Wow.
so much to love about this amplifier. Um, but the weight was not one of them.
Geez, and Sweetwater's selling them for $900.
That's the 40 watt?
Yeah. EVH 5150 Iconic Series 40 watt 1x12-inch tube combo amp, Ivory, $899.99.
Yeah, sounds about right. Honestly, though,
Used used for 660. Let's see, what do we got here? Tech specs, 53 pounds. That weighs more, 1 pound more than my reissue Fender Bassman combo that has 4 speakers in it.
yeah, my friend, I have a Black Star, which, the Black Star St. James, which is the lightest tube amp on the planet. It weighs less than half what that amp weighs. Two of
Gee,
my,
and
yeah,
the recording out is an XLR too, so it'll plug right into a desk or a
dude,
preamp.
I'm telling you, my friend, it was good. It was really, really good. And it had a ton of gain on tap. Like, okay,
Well, it
legitimately,
would have to.
legitimately, I'm going to tell you something I few people will want to hear. The clean channel on that amp, when cranked with the gain, I mean, not the volume, the master volume, the
Uh,
clean channel on that amp with the gain cranked and the reverb up just right, Van Halen one tones out the ass. That's what it was designed to do. The
yeah,
second channel, the actual lead channel, is like Gent City. Like it's made for heavy metal for sure. But the clean channel of that amp was made, it goes from literally very, very, very clean to Van Halen two tones. It was
yeah.
insane. Insane.
And it's got a noise gate built into it,
It sure does.
into the dirty channel.
Yeah, because that for like, really heavy, staccato shit, like you really want to, yeah, like noise gates are like, it's the thing now for
Yeah,
for the gents.
it's got a negative feedback loop on it. That sounds like a really cool amp.
Yeah, you know who designed this amp is the person who designed the originals. His name is James Brown, not the James Brown, but the James Brown. And he
That's
had a
awesome.
hand, he designed this. And
Cool.
it is dope. Now, I will say there is a 99.95% chance that some of the gain is coming from solid state circuitry. Just saying, it may be a tube amp, but there are solid state circuits at work. However, irrelevant. It sounds fantastic. Dimebag Darrell used solid state amps, and people think he had the greatest tone on the planet. He didn't, by the way. He had awful
He
tone.
didn't. No, he didn't. Yeah.
But I'm not saying he wasn't a good player and that his tone wasn't unique because it was, but it was terrible. So anyway, let's not even get into that conversation because tubes not does not equal better. Um, okay, question
I,
number 9.
yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. Thank you.
Wes, when oiling my rosewood fretboard, instead of mineral oil, can I use a lighter viscosity like 3-in-1?
Is that the whole question?
Yes, it is, my friend.
No, you cannot use 3-in-1. 3-in-1 has something in it called polytetrafluoroethylene, which is the
PTFE.
PTFE. It's commonly referred to as Teflon.
And it is
Okay. Do
lit.
not do not put that on your fretboard. Do not put that on wood. That is bad.
It's bad for you.
It's bad. Yeah, it's bad for you and it's bad for the wood. And it's going to make your guitar slippery and not fun.
Mm-mm.
Um, so you can use a lighter viscosity oil, but do not use 3-in-1. And just use pure mineral oil. Use baby oil, which is mineral oil. It's not made out of babies. It's just mineral oil with
They
no
wring out babies into
they bring out baby.
a
It's just mineral oil that doesn't have any flavorings or odorants or anything like
flavoring.
that. I'm trying to think of the word,
Is that
right?
Oh, now we're gonna be drinking mineral oil. This shit is
Well,
good. It's better than Tide Pods.
that's the thing. Baby oil is safe. I mean, I don't recommend drinking it, but if you do it, it will not kill you. It will make you poop really easily for weeks, but it
Ooh,
will not
what?
kill you.
What?
Yeah. It'll loosen you right up.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but yeah, do not use 3-in-1 oil. Do not use motor
Please.
oil.
Motor
Use
oil.
and even here, I'm going to say, don't use mineral oil. I'm going to tell you what to use.
Oh,
I
here
got to
we
look it
go.
up though. I got to look it up though. I got to look it up. Hang on. Stay with me.
Well, I'm trying, but
Stay with me.
it appears my camera has stopped cooperating for some reason, so I'm all blurry now. I'm sorry, everyone, that you're looking at it.
There it goes. There
There
it
we
went.
go. Fantastic. Actually, I should probably
Uh,
apologize for this. This is where the real problem exists.
so the thing you want to use instead of mineral oil is a thing called Monty's Instrument Food. It is a wax. You could buy a little tin of it for $18. You got to pay for the shipping because they make this shit in England. And what I ought to do is buy 100 tins of it and just set it up to sell it. And this stuff is way better for your guitar fretboard than oil of any kind.
Mm-hmm. Why is that,
That's
my
it.
friend?
Well, a lot of times, oils are hydrocarbons, right? They're fossil fuels. They're made out of dead dinosaurs. So there are things in them, especially like if you
Are
get,
you saying that there are people in this world that are breeding and killing dinosaurs just for their oil?
yes, that's exactly what they're doing. But a lot of those guitar oils have solvents in them, and those are, they make your fretboard look really great, but they actually dry out the wood as they evaporate, as they
They
flash
don't
off.
moisturize the wood like you think you're doing.
No, they make your fretboard look great for a little while, but the overall effect is negative.
Hmm.
So just like, I mean, when you wash your car, if you have a nice fancy car, when you wash your car, you don't rub oil all over the surface of it. You rub wax on it
Yeah,
to
but
keep that shine.
cars and fingerboards are made of two different materials.
Yeah, they are, but the concept is the same. You're adding a protective finish to your fretboard, and to keep that moisture in there where you want it, you want to have something that doesn't have solvents, doesn't have any alcohol in it, you want a wax. And I think this Monty's Instrument food is the best stuff.
All right.
And even a little $18 tin will last a long time.
Okay. Well, now I'm deeply
No,
hurt that you never shared that tip with me until today, and it was when you shared it with the rest of the world. So
well, you never asked.
you're supposed to give me unsolicited opinion all the time.
They also make another thing called relic wax, Monte Presso relic wax, which especially if you have a guitar with a light colored rosewood fretboard, will help make that fretboard dark and
Okay.
beautiful.
Do you have a
And
link you
that,
can send me, and then maybe when I publish the episode, I can
yeah,
include it. Okay.
absolutely.
Question number 10, and Wes, I'm sorry to say this, but this is our last question.
Okay.
Right? All good things must come to an end, and this is no exception. I have a Squire J. Is it Mascis? We talked
I
about this
believe it's,
guitar.
yeah, I believe it's a hard C,
Mascis?
Mascus, I believe.
Oh, okay. All right. So I have a Squire J. Mascis Jazz Master. That is a tongue twister of the highest order. And while Fender
Yeah.
describes the neck as satin finish, he said with air quotes, she said, it feels almost unfinished, smooth at first, but rough and sticky after a while. It doesn't turn glossy, but still feels off. I'm planning to apply True Oil, and that is TRU. That's
Hmm.
like a brand, True Oil, and wax to make it smoother. Most videos show starting on completely unfinished necks, so I'm wondering if I could apply True Oil directly to my satin finish neck with maybe some light sanding first.
So
Wes?
this is actually a really great question because from my perspective, one of the greatest failures of the Squire line is the finish they put on the backs of the necks.
Mm,
Whether it is satin or glossy, it gets rough and sticky after a while. And I don't know why. I think it's just the polyethylene that or polyurethane that they use. So let me give you a short answer and then I'll give a more in-depth answer. The short answer is yes, you can apply True Oil directly to your satin finish neck, but you will make a giant mess and waste your time and the True Oil because it is not going to penetrate the finish. It is not going to do anything. It's just going to roll right off. And as you wipe it off, as you play, you're going to have True Oil all over your hands. So I guess the real answer is no, you can't. I mean, you can, but it's not, don't do it. Now, if you lightly sand the neck first and then put the True Oil on, you're going to have the same problem. The only way to effectively do what you want to do is to sand all of the finish off the
oh,
entire neck
it's got to go.
and then True Oil it.
Yep,
And you
it's got
want
to
to do
go.
True Oil in multiple coats. Do it, rub it in, let it dry. Do it, rub it in, let it dry. 3, 5, 10 times. The more you do it, the better it's going to feel. Satin finish is really just not polished. It's still got the clear coat on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's still got whatever thick, goopy ass polyurethane that they use in the Squire factory. And it will get sticky after a while, depending on your body chemistry. Not everybody has this problem. And it's not just Squires. I used to have an Eric Johnson Stratocaster that had the exact same problem. After I played it for about 10 or 15 minutes, the back of the neck would just start to get sticky because of the finish that they used on it. And that guitar was 100% made in America. So I'm not bad mouthing Squire, maybe
Not
a little
today.
bit, but not today, not for this. But yeah, the only way to do this, and don't use True Oil and wax. Use True Oil or wax.
Okay.
Okay, because there for the same reason what we just talked about on the fretboard,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So
I've
you
never
might be
heard of
thinking,
using wax on the neck. Fingerboard, yes. I've never heard of using a wax on the neck itself.
well, the
Oil and
idea,
and all that, yes.
yeah, the idea I think is to keep the true oil in, right?
Okay.
Because you should periodically reapply true oil if your guitar is true oiled. So maybe they think that the wax will help prevent that. No, if you're going to play a bare wood neck, you must take care of it. You
Protect it.
must protect it. You must engage in routine maintenance, just like you would with your car or your girlfriend.
So, so excuse me. Sorry, I wasn't expecting that. But it is true. Anyway, I do have a thought on the satin finish on the Squire. To be honest, there's actually, at least in my opinion, at least, there's a solution to this, and that is, um, I used to, on poorly satin finished necks, I used to take, what was it? Scotch-Brite?
Yeah, that would
And
do it.
yeah, and
Steel wool, basically.
yep, steel wool, and just steel wool. And you're not, if you do it right with even pressure and not a ton of it, what you're going to do is take off the raw edge of the finish without removing too much of the actual finish.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah.
really would have to sand that well to remove the actual finish. What you're doing is removing the shininess even from the satin finish. And
Mhm.
um, it may require done again. Like you may have to do that more than once, not frequently. Like you won't have to do it every time you clean the guitar or restring it, but you might have to do it more than once. And the other thing I used to do is micro mesh.
Yeah.
If you can get micro mesh sheets, not the blocks, because the blocks will only the fingerboard round,
The
block flat, not good. But if you get the
right.
sheet and wrap it with your hand, so if micro mesh is also a good option because it's even more gentle than that steel wool. Um, so yeah, just something to think about. I don't know why is true oil such a thing? You have to take it down to the bare wood.
Yeah, you
I
do.
I would not do that. I don't think it's necessary. And then you're leaving the wood completely unprotected, and then you are going to have to treat it more regularly, especially if you play a lot because you're going to be sweating and it's just, yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, I love a good satin finish, but it's got to be a good satin finish.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, in my opinion, the
Squire doesn't
Squires
do it.
do not have a good satin finish.
No. Wes, we're at the end. We did everything. We did
Oh
all the
wow.
questions. I'm
I
sorry.
feel free.
Do we, do you want a bonus question?
Yes, hit me with a bonus question.
All right. See, we don't want it to end. All right. Hold on. Now I have to find the bonus questions.
You know,
Um,
I figured out when your light dims, that's when your camera freaks out because it can't see your face, so it doesn't know where to focus.
okay. I'm going to give you some questions and you can do these as rapid fires, meaning
Okay,
you don't have to give the long version of the answer. You
you
can
got
give a
it.
short version and it's good enough. Okay. Noiseless single coils. Who's got the best in 2024?
Lindy Fralin.
What, like that? Um, I have a great Strat. Do I need a Silver Sky?
No, a Silver Sky is a Strat copy. You have a real Strat. Love that.
Well, God, I'm doing this. I'm doing this.
Okay.
Wes, which EMG humbucker do you recommend?
I do not recommend EMG humbuckers because they suck. But if you have to have one, the EMG 81.
Certificate of authenticity.
Piece of garbage. Next question. Absolutely irrelevant. It's a worthless piece of paper. I don't even know what the question was.
Honestly, that's about it. I bought a vintage. What is VOS? Is that vintage old stock Les Paul?
Sure. That's not really a term. It's
V
NOS or
right.
yeah.
I don't know what VOS. Maybe there is a VOS Les Paul. You can Google that while I read this question. I bought a VOS Les Paul here, so I'm guessing at TGP, and somehow the certificate of authenticity was lost during shipping. No, it wasn't. I'm sorry, it wasn't.
Yeah,
If
it
that,
was never there.
it was never there in the first place. That's it. I'm sorry. That's the end of that story. It is what it is,
Yeah.
my friend.
So
Um,
VOS is a thing. It means vintage original spec.
okay, thank you. Vintage original spec. Anyway, the certificate was lost during shipping. Sure, it was, but the guitar wasn't. Okay. I was cool. It's okay. So just to back up, they opened the box, saw that it was a VOS Les Paul, opened the case, stole the certificate, but kept and sent you the guitar. Okay, that's what happened.
Yeah.
I was cool about it. And the way I felt is I wanted the guitar, not the COA, as it should. But I really didn't bond with the guitar. And now that I'm
Now they
selling
want to
her,
sell it.
everyone
Yeah.
wants the COA.
Yeah, it's worthless. The important thing is the serial number. And if you really need a COA, get in touch with me. I will make you a counterfeit COA that looks as good as the real thing. And then you can sell that with your guitar because the COA is a meaningless piece of paper that the company throws in there to make you feel better about spending a shit ton of money on a guitar.
Yeah, it is the one of the best marketing ploys I've ever seen. And
Yep.
it works because now this poor sap can't sell this guitar. And I'm sorry, but it was somehow lost in shipping.
It wasn't lost in shipping. It was never there. It is a worthless piece of paper in reality. Now,
In
when you're trying to
reality,
sell the guitar, it's
it apparently, yeah,
important.
right.
But the important thing is really the serial number. So that's what you need.
Um, Wes, how do you feel about appointment only music stores? And remember, these usually are stores where the majority of the stock is, high end. And
Yeah,
the purpose of this
I
is to reduce tire kickers and people messing up the instruments. How do you feel about these appointment only music stores?
I have 0% problems with that. As a matter of fact, I think it's a great idea. I patronize a number of appointment only shops, not just in the music industry, but in motorcycles. In my personal business is appointment only. You can't just walk in and talk to me about editing your book. You got to set up an appointment. Appointment only. Great idea. Let's keep doing it.
Who do I talk to about editing my book?
Me.
Refretting a Rickenbacker. What's involved?
Most Rickenbackers, I know that's not how you say it. That's how I say it.
How do you say
Most
it?
they say Rickenbacker because they don't want it to sound too German.
Wait, so I was saying it the right way? I was actually
Yes, you were.
joking.
Yep, they say
Wow.
Rickenbacker at the factory. So most Rickenbackers have a finished rosewood fretboard.
It's very
So
rare.
yeah, it is. And they're one of the only manufacturers I think that still does it. Uh, which is funny because the few guitars they make with maple fretboards are either satin finished or not finished. My Rickenbacker that has a maple fingerboard does not have glossy finish on the fingerboard,
Crazy.
but
They
all
go
of their but my
crazy.
12 string with the rosewood fretboard absolutely does. So you would refret it just like you would a Fender with a maple fingerboard. You have to take the frets out. You have to sand down the existing finish. You have to make sure you leave a gap around the fret slot. You refret it. You prep it. You clear coat it. You polish it. You do all the fret work, and you're done. It's
Yeah,
an extensive process.
it really is. And this person, I don't know how I feel about this, what I'm going to say it. They they want to do stainless to make it one and done.
I would not. Well, first of all, stainless steel frets do wear down. They just wear down slower. So that is not a one and done. It's just you're just putting off the next refret and making the next refret that much more difficult. By the way, I I don't I I'm not morally opposed to stainless steel frets, but they do change the sound of the guitar, and I'm
Mhm.
not sure that would be a positive change on a Rick.
That's the other thing I was thinking. And also, what are the I don't want to say this. Is this a
Say
safe
it.
place? Okay. Is there anything wrong with taking the finish off that rosewood and just leaving it off?
No, there probably wouldn't be, because most rosewood fretboards are not painted. But you would have to keep in mind that it was finished at the factory. So it was
Mhm.
prepped, it was, layers of clear coat.
Mhm.
So from my perspective, to do a good job of removing the finish, you would need to remove the frets so that
Yeah.
you can really get in there and get it all the way down to the wood.
Mhm.
And then you're going to need to treat the wood before you refret the guitar.
Mm. I was just wondering, like, because I understand that, and I was just wondering, would I'm not talking about resale because I hate having conversations about guitars with resale in mind
Yeah.
because the purpose of the guitar is to play it, not to sell it.
Well, and the second you refret any guitar, you've eliminated a chunk of its vintage value. So if you refret a guitar and then you want to sell it in 25 years, it's not new. It's not all original. It's been refretted. So
Yeah, yeah.
the a chunk of the resale value is gone.
All right, that's it for our bonus questions, my friend. So we are
Woohoo!
done the episode for this particular week.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
But we're going to be back with a music that matters, and it's a banger, as the kids say these days.
it
I don't
is.
think the kids really say that. I know you say it, but you're not a kid.
Again, I say, how dare you, my friend? How dare you? All right, so since we're ending, I'll just give you my spiel one more time. Different strings podcast at gmail.com. Please and thank you. Your questions, your suggestions, your hate mail. Please tell us why Joey Kramer is the greatest drummer of all time. Um, different I suck so much tonight. Different strings podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. We're on Facebook, just search Different Strings Podcast. And on the YouTube, please like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell and notifications, all that, and do all the things. Okay, Wes, and that's it for me this week. Great job as always.
Thank you, and good night.
And good night. And stay tuned for music that matters.